Okay, almost forgot to do this. Um, it's Saturday night. We got a noon game tomorrow. Vikings hosting Lions. We're off the bye. Um, 5-0, and facing, I believe, the 5-1 Lions. This is for division supremacy. This is for conference supremacy right now. Very big game. Biggest Vikings Lions game maybe ever. I mean, the case could be made certainly, because how often in the 60-year plus years of the Vikings have both the Vikings and Lions been good? Hasn't happened very often. So I think the big thing, the big story with this is just like who's hurt. Um, Obviously, one of the big stories last week, Vikings were on the bye, but then the Lions, you know, blew out Dallas, but they lost Aiden Hutchinson for the year, 2 broken leg. Um, you know, you don't have to root for injuries, but it is fortuitous that this would happen before this game. Um, but then we've got our own injury stuff. Aaron Jones, I think he's gonna play. Sounds like he's more likely to play than not. Um, for somehow we came off the bye more hurt than we've been all year. I don't know how that happened. We got Blake Cashman out this week with an injury. He hadn't been hurt all year, but now he's hurt. Harrison Phillips was banged up. I think he's playing. Um, we got 4 or 5 guys who are listed as questionable. I'm very disappointed that T.J. Hawkinson is not playing. He's been practicing for a while now. He's eligible to play. All the reports are that he's looking absolutely fantastic. And obviously he's a elite tight end, and boy, we could really use. We need all hands on deck. This is one of the biggest games of the season. But they've downgraded him to out. He's not going to play, and I get that you want to, you maybe want to give the guy every opportunity to rehab, but if like everything I've seen and heard is that he's ready to go, so he should play, and I think this is a big mistake not playing him. But that it's been decided. They got another game now Thursday night at the Rams. I hope they're not planning to sit him for that one too. Because then why even bring him back? Bring him back off the pup. But also the big news earlier in the week. I didn't do a video because there was already a video last year of the Vikings trading for Cam Akers. So we traded like conditional late round pick in like 2026 to Houston to get him. What does that mean for Aaron Jones? I mean, I think it's just more. Hopefully it's just like more insurance, more depth. Very low cost, and we know Akers is pretty good. He was pretty good last year for us. So good pick up there. He could step right in because it's the same offense, so he could step right in and play Sunday. I hope this isn't like they're down on Ty Chandler, because I think Ty Chandler's pretty solid. But anyway, hopefully Jones play. I mean, we need all hands on deck. This is I've shit talked the Lions a lot over the last couple years now, but they're probably better this year than they were last year. Last year they were complete fucking frauds, and they took a while for them to prove it, but they did eventually prove it. This year they are better, but again, they haven't beaten the quality of teams the Vikings have. And a lot of people in Vikings fandom are really pissed off about the disrespect that the Vikings continue to get, considering the Vikings, body of work so far, 5-0, and like the worst team they've beaten is probably the Giants, but even that was like a blowout win on the road. So, yeah, I mean this is a big one. We've obviously had some big wins already this year, but this game is huge. I mean, if you can win this game, you're 6-0. You're 2 up on everybody else in the NFC because Washington lost last week. They had only had 1 loss. They lost last week. And Detroit would have a second loss now. You'd be up 2 on everybody in the conference, not to mention the division, of course. And you'd have, 2 of your, probably 4 toughest division games out of the way already, and would have won them. I mean, you would really be in a driver's seat position to get home field advantage. We wouldn't even necessarily just be talking, hey, can you make the playoffs? Can you maybe win the North? No, then we can start to shift into another conversation, especially given that schedule that's coming up for the Vikings after this game. This is like the last game of the tough part of the schedule, because after this, it's a bad Rams team. It's the Colts. It's Jacksonville. It's Tennessee. It's the Bears, and I know everyone's hyping up the Bears, but the Bears have beaten absolutely nobody. You can really start piling up wins now. I don't think the Vikings are going to win every game. Like this is not a team that goes to like 10-0, 11-0, 12. This does not seem like that type of team. We've had a couple of those teams around here, but I don't see it. I don't see this as that level of team. But and of course, this game is setting up so perfectly where if the Vikings do lose, everybody's going to say, "Oh, see, the Vikings aren't any good, actually." Despite what they've already done this year and what they're going to do, I think to a lot of the teams coming up on the schedule. It's setting up so perfectly for that narrative, and it would just be a narrative. Like the Vikings lose this game tomorrow, they're still having a really good season. They're still very much heading for the playoffs, and they can still compete. Certainly have a chance in the division. But you're gonna see the bandwagon emptying so fast if they lose, which is hilarious because even if they lose, they're 5-1, and who would have even had them at 5-1? But we have seen it. 2016, start 5-0, then go on the bye, come off the bye, and it all implodes. I don't see that happening because I just see this defense as way more legit, and just the overall team is way more legit than that team was. But it's a huge game. I mean, if you they have all the formulas and stuff to, it's like a win gives you this percentage chance of winning the North. Like, their chances of winning the North are so good if they win this game. And it's like basically a coin flip if they lose. So it's a really, really big game. It'd be fun to shut up the Lions and all their bandwagon fans. Haven't seen much of them this year in the comments, but maybe that'll start now. But again, I think this Lions team is better than the one last year. They're a little more legit. I mean, that game last week, they won, what was it, 47-9. I mean, they're screwing around. They lose Hutchinson for the year, and then still later in that game, they got starters out there and they're throwing like trick play passes to their tackle. Like it would have served them right to get even more guys hurt. But this will be a huge test. More so for the defense. I'm pretty confident the Vikings offense is going to be able to put up some points. I mean, hell, they put up points last year with Nick Mullins against this team twice, and that was with Hutchinson. So, I think, people, the Darnold doubters are kind of starting to creep up because he wasn't very good against the Jets, but that was, one game against a good defense. And the Lions are not as good, and they're definitely not going to be as good without Hutchinson. So, I certainly think the Vikings are going to be able to score. Hopefully, if Aaron Jones is out there, they'll definitely have a better chance. And then this is a big test for the defense. Which really, aside from about, one half of a game against Green Bay, has been pretty lights out all year. and facing some very good offenses. But this will be the biggest test there. Are we gonna be able to get some of those big turnovers that we've been getting? Is Gink gonna snag one? We're mostly healthy on defense. I mean, Cashman out, that sucks because Detroit runs it a lot. But hopefully Phillips plays, and I don't expect this to be like a shutdown defensive game for either team. I think this is going to be a game. I think both teams are going to get at least into like the mid-20s. As far as my pick, I'm actually picking the Vikings to lose this game. And it's not because I doubt the Vikings or because I'm some huge believer in the Lions. It's just the law of averages. They're not again, with the schedule they've got coming up. I just don't see this team going to like 10-0, 11-0, that kind of season. It kind of makes sense that this might be the game to lose. Maybe you come off the bye and you're a little rusty. Detroit's good. You got a couple key guys out or potentially out. I could see them losing this game. And again, just if they lose this game, the narrative of, the Vikings aren't really any good and the Lions are the greatest team since the '85 Bears. That you can see that narrative just blowing up here. The Vikings lose, and I just kind of see it. I kind of see this as like a logical place to lose a first game. And then you get the short week at the Rams, who stink. Probably be more Vikings fans at that game than Rams fans, And then you got some, a very easy November slate with some road games, but still very easy, games on paper. Again, I don't see this team. Now I've been wrong already. I thought I went into the season pessimistic and had them at 7-10 and missing the playoffs. Very much reassess things now. Now it's like if they lose or if they win anything less than about 12 games, it's going to seem disappointing. But they're not going to win every game. It's just that no one wins every game. Like, it just doesn't happen. Obviously, I really, really hope they win. But I think it's going to go. I think it's going to go the other way. I think I've got it at like a 30-24 type of game for the Lions. Competitive, very competitive game. Probably very good game, exciting game. Hot ticket too, man. The resale market. I've never seen tickets this high priced. Certainly for a Lions game, and sometimes not even for a Packer game. But yeah, I certainly won't be shocked if the Vikings win, but I just think, again, they're not going to win every game. I'd loved if they did. They wouldn't. How amazing would that be if they went 20-0 and won the Super Bowl? But I just don't see that happening. I think they're gonna drop a few games along the way, and this seems like a kind of a logical place for maybe one of those to be. That's pretty much my only reason for picking it this way. And maybe I'll be wrong, and I would love to be wrong. But that'll be my pick. 30-24 Lions, but hopefully the Vikings prove me wrong and go to 6-0. And boy, they would have such a stranglehold on this division and really the whole conference, because you look at this conference. There's some teams out there, but I still think the 49ers are going to figure it out to an extent. Tampa Bay's looked pretty good. Kirk's got the Falcons playing good. Obviously Washington's been the big surprise, and then you got Detroit and Green Bay. Like it's a very wide open conference, but you could have a chance to have a 2-game lead, at least 2 games in the loss column, 2-game lead, already. That would be massive with what their schedule is. So prove me wrong, Vikings. Beat the Lions. Go to 6-0, and we will all be happy.